In this episode of Dark History, we're looking at the dark history of the Republic of Korea, also known as South Korea. Grab a snack and please enjoy the video. The Burning Sun Scandal. In 2007, the popular band called The Big Bang emerged and exploded in popularity and fame. They were known for songs like Fantastic Baby or Bang Bang Bang, which are huge hits across the world and also huge hits on YouTube as well. A lot more views, like thousands, millions more views than myself. No, that's great. No, I respect it. But what I don't respect is what they have done in the Burning Sun scandal. One of the members called Jun Jun-yeon, he put hidden cameras called the Mocha and filmed himself having intercourse with women. Now these women have never agreed to being filmed, and especially not being filmed and posted in a group chat in Kakao Talk. And he of course he has been accused and he has admitted to all of these crimes. The next one is Seungri. He bribed investors with prostitutes in order to get more funding for the nightclub. Now, originally he said that he was not involved in prostitution, but after further investigation, he has invested 25 million won in the business. So he obviously was invested, and even at his birthday party, he hired prostitutes, and at the end, he was also convicted in the Burning Sun scandal. Now, this is obviously a very oversimplified version of the story, but you can find tons of information on YouTube if you want to learn more about this scandal. Highway 56. The date is June 3, 2002. Yusun, 14 years old, it was one day before her birthday. And she decided, she wanted to celebrate early. So she went to get her friend, Miseon, who was also 14 years old. And afterwards, they were walking on Rural Road 56. And while they were walking up a hill, they were fatally crushed to death by two US Army vehicles, and they both passed away. Now, at first, US military didn't want to convict any of the people involved in this accident, but after large anti-US military protests in South Korea, they did decide to convict. However, no one has been accused of homicide. So, what do you think? Should they be accused of homicide? And, or you could even do should the US military be in South Korea in the first place? Ghost surgeries. Ghost surgeries is not, ghost performing surgeries. That's obviously impossible. Ghost surgeries is when an untrained specialist does a surgery without the assistance of a surgeon. An untrained could be someone who's maybe studying a medicine but has no experience or has very little experience in performing surgery on humans. And these unconscious patients have never agreed to this. And if you are in the medical field, you know that you need to have supervision when you're doing these kinds of surgeries. And the result? A lot of deaths, a lot of botched surgeries. Understandably, because these are not trained specialists doing it. And even worse, some of these unconscious patients were sexually assaulted while they were unconscious on their bed. One of the patients that died from this is Kwon Dae-hee, and after reviewing footage, it was untrained specialists going in and performing surgeries on him, then leaving, and then someone else doing a surgery on them, and untrained, and at the end, he died from blood loss. The result of this is that many South Koreans wanted cameras in the operating room so that these kinds of events don't happen. The Sinwon Primary School massacre. During the Korean War, the South Korean army rounded up 187 villagers accused of being communist and brutally executed them. This was seen by a United Nations member and was reported. Now the story doesn't end there. In 1995, the truth about the past was more open. People were more willing to investigate the past. And obviously the dictatorships in Korea were finished, and it was a time where we wanted to investigate. and the results of the investigation were quite disturbing. It was revealed that 719 people were executed that day, including 385 children who were executed for being communist. But children, they can't be communist. But there was obviously a brutal execution of civilians in a time of war. The Brothers' Home Detention Center. In 1975, the dictator of South Korea, Park Chung-hee, began his policy of purifying the streets and began the Brothers' Home Detention Center. However, he was assassinated by the KCIA, but the next dictator of South Korea would ramp up this policy. His name was Chun Dong-wan, and the reason why he even increased this policy was because South Korea had to host the Asian Games in 1986 and the Olympic Games in 1988. But what exactly was this policy? Well, this policy of purifying the street was basically capturing people that felt reduce the image of South Korea. These people were people drinking beer in the streets, homeless people, street vendors, even children, vagrants, and even a college student handing anti-government leaflets. In fact, only 10% were actually vagrants. Many were just children or people that they felt was under. And that was, when people would go to the Olympics, they would see this South Korea as this utopic society. Now, what would happen to these people? They would be sent to factories and turned to slaves. And within these factories, there would be a regime of terror. The first thing that would induce terror was the platoons. Platoons were stronger inmates, and they would go and beat other inmates as well as rape and steal their food. These same platoons partnered with guards and beat inmates who didn't meet the limit for how much things they had to build that day, or that their product was not well made. And there was 4 to 5 deaths every day because of this. And they would grab someone into a room and they would beat him with baseball bats. One testimony that is quite terrifying is that he saw a woman having her hair grabbed and dragged into a hallway and having her head bashed in. And there was blood oozing from the floor. The tunnel of aggression. If these tunnels were never discovered, then North Korea would be able to send 15,000 troops per hour into South Korea and invade it through the underground world. But how did they discover the first tunnel? And how did they discover the rest of the tunnels? The first tunnel was discovered in 1974. The Republic of Korea, or South Korea's army, was along the demilitarized zone. And that's where they noticed a change in the patterns of the vegetation. Something as subtle as this prevented an invasion. They saw a difference in the vegetation, and this led into an investigation into what was happening underground. And that's where, after digging many tunnels, they discovered the first tunnel. The first tunnel was situated around Karangpo, near the demilitarized zone. The second tunnel was pretty easy to discover. The soldiers along the DMZ heard explosions underground, and their feet were like trembling from the explosion, the impact of the explosions. And that's where they investigated and found a second tunnel. Now, you need to build more tunnels to find the tunnels. So, there was more and more tunnels. There's 4 tunnels that we know of, but there might be even more tunnels that we might not even know of. And the thing is, to find a tunnel, you need to dig more tunnels. So how I imagine it is just like Korea just full of tunnels in the undergrounds, trying to like find tunnels to like go into South Korea. And there might be tunnels right now being built and that we don't even know of. Maybe they even went deeper underground, and that's even harder to find, like a metro system. And that's even more frightening. So who knows? Maybe there is a 5th tunnel of aggression. The Nth Room cyber trafficking ring. This ring happened on the app called Telegram. If you never use Telegram, I believe it is an end-to-end encryption service where it's basically like texting or messenger group chats, but I believe the members are anonymous. from what I understand. And what happened was that 10,000 men were paying access to a group chat. I believe there were 9 group chats where they could watch women being beaten, raped, and self-mutilate. Now, this was not consensual. These women were coerced, were even blackmailed in making these videos for these group chats, this trafficking ring. And even on Twitter, they were selling videos of these women being beaten for 10 gigabyte for 10,000 won. And in 2020, all of this was revealed, and petitions were signed. I believe 350,000 signatures to reveal who these 10,000 men were, all these people who were paying for this service. And surprisingly, many men weren't really bothered. They were saying, you know, it's just porn, or that they didn't deserve to be revealed or whatever. But from what I know, the government has not revealed any names of all the people who paid for the service, only the people who were arranging all of this and who were the mastermind behind all of this trafficking ring. As well, they arrested the doctor's room, which was a copycat crime, and they were basically doing the same thing. Of course, this is extremely disturbing for the Korean citizens who discovered the horrible, tragic event of Telegram's cyber trafficking ring. Thank you for watching this video, and don't forget to subscribe and let me know down in the comments which country I should do next. As always, thank you to my co-followers Ali Mihai, Agribin, Luke, Java City Coffee, Riley, Daly, Elk, Lolo XL2, Tyler, Kyle, Alicia, Kyle, Audrey Weeks, and Oliver.